left, right.
In the SipTalk, you're going to love this one. We are talking about the most dangerous toys of all time. There's some crazy toys out there. You probably don't want to buy them for your kids. If you're an adult, you might actually like some of these toys. But let me know what you think. Let me know if we missed any dangerous toys, and I'll see you guys on the other end. This is SipTalk. Grab a drink and enjoy.
Press this button.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers. All right, and that is our cue. Welcome to Sip Talk, episode 162. My name is Justin DiGiulio out of my basement in New Jersey, joined by James, the Bosniator Boswell, out of Charleston, South Carolina. James is a philosopher, a professional referee, a bartender, and most exciting of all, an accountant. Very excited to have you here, as always, James. Nice to have Rosh Galeb in the background feeding us your comments on social media if you're watching us live. If you're watching us live on TikTok or Instagram or Facebook, Twitter, Twitch. We are expanding our channels that we are live on. We're happy to have you guys here. Today, we're talking about the most dangerous toys in the world. Most dangerous. We got some cool stuff, actually, so...
Yeah, this is going to be a fun one, and if anybody has any like dangerous toys that they can think of that we don't mention, or just favorite toys from their childhood, like let us know. Let's talk about them.
Yeah, so I did a little research on this and came up with some that I was actually surprised were dangerous, and then you read some of the stuff that really, some crazy stuff that happened with some of these dangerous toys. A lot of these I had.
Yeah, real quick, you want to hit one or two current events?
Well, you tell me what's going on.
Well, the big one right now is war with Ukraine.
Yeah,
real quick, Leah Sandercock says Legos is a dangerous toy. I guess if you're stepping on them.
No,
you ever stepped on a Lego?
I have stepped on Legos. The real issue with Legos is that babies, eat everything. That seems to me like a very common theme in these dangerous toys is the ingestibility factor.
Yeah, that was one key thing. Is like anything with small magnets was a problem.
Well, hang on.
Yeah.
well,
and Maria says hi, so we got to say hi back to her. Yeah, you blinked out.
Well, why don't you tell us what's going on with Ukraine here?
Well, it's looking like Russia might try and invade, and not like a small little thing. Not that it was little, but not like it was in 2014 where they invaded like a small part of the eastern part of Ukraine and took over Crimea, which is the southern peninsula of Ukraine, but that looks like Russia wants to take over the entire country.
Well, my understanding that they have an oil pipeline that feeds through Ukraine. They basically pay Ukraine to have this pipeline there, and they don't so much like having to pay Ukraine for that. And I feel like Ukraine was part of the USSR, correct? So I feel like they think Ukraine basically still belongs to them, and they're just reclaiming land that was kind of broken away from them.
So yeah, definitely Putin has made it pretty clear that he wants to kind of bring Russia back to the glory that it was in the Soviet days. So like taking back Ukraine plays into that. But also like in 2013, they went through a revolution where Ukraine's president was super pro-Russian, and then like the people overthrew him and installed a more Western-friendly president. And so Russia's been trying to get that back, of have somebody that's favorable to them.
Well, typically what Russia likes to do is these kind of very convoluted schemes where they set themselves up for future success. So if they can get a president of the Ukraine who is a Russia sympathizer or a big fan of Russia, that's why they wanted Trump as part of as the president of the United States, because they know Trump has a lot of business dealings in Russia. He likes Russia, didn't see Russia as a mortal enemy to the U.S. So they're playing this long game, and it doesn't look good.
No. Um, Thankfully, this is something that pretty much the entire world besides Russia doesn't want. Even China, that usually sides with Russia on a lot of things, even China is not backing them right now, at least not overtly.
Yeah, well, there's I listen to a little bit about the news every morning, and it seems to be getting worse and worse.
Hmm.
And they're talking about like a potential world war because a lot of different countries have different opinions as to what should be done. And it's also my understanding that the Ukraine is not part of NATO.
No, and Ukraine would very much like to be a part of NATO. Um, and this is kind of a proxy fight over that because I think Ukraine is going to be able to make a pretty strong case that one, they deserve protection, and if Russia invades them and they're part of the EU, which they are, then Ukraine might be like, why can't you guys let us into NATO? We obviously need the help, and we're on your side.
Well, that's the issue. Is currently now they're not part of NATO. So if we go to bat for them and start protecting them, we're basically putting our hands where we and weapons where we and soldiers where we don't quite belong. So
Well, we're
there's a
doing
lot
that
of
right now
contention.
because before,
Well,
what Ukraine really wanted was some Western anti-tank missiles. So like these shoulder-fired tank missiles that work really, really well, and the United States and Britain makes them. And for the longest time, we didn't want to give them to them because it was our technology, and we don't want to like just share that freely. But now that Russia has made such a credible threat, we we have been both the United States and Britain have been sending in tons of those rocket launchers. So
well,
this is
well,
backfiring for Russia in a lot of ways because Russia was gambling that that they would be able to pull what they did in 2014 with Crimea with the whole rest of the country, and that there wouldn't be too much resistance. And now they've got a lot of people against them.
well, as we're about to talk about toys and dangerous toys, you know what Britain did in the 1940s with
No, but I do have
their tank.
a Russian toy with me right now that's actually
Well, hold
somewhat
up.
dangerous.
Hold up. So in 1944, the British deployed 148 inflatable tanks close to the front line, and around half of them were destroyed by fragments from German artillery. But they created these dummy tanks, basically, as a to mislead people that they had more tanks than they did, which is pretty brilliant. I imagine an inflatable tank a lot cheaper than a real tank. So, what Russian toy do you have there?
So I've got these Russian toy guns, and I
Okay,
don't remember if you ever had these, but they're really really cool. What they do is they shoot these little discs, and they
okay,
actually go pretty far. You can probably
and that looks like it's the size of a lifesaver candy,
yeah, it's
but
like
flatter.
it's plastic, and yeah, it's kind of about the size of a penny, I would say. Like it's a plastic disc that's about the same size and like thickness as a penny.
Hmm.
And these things are super fun. And I remember I got like the one thing that they'll do is they'll jam because it's just a little like plastic thing
It's a
that
disc.
pushes them
So
out.
okay, so
And
where are you
so
going with this?
I convinced my brother. I was like, "It's jammed. You got to look down the barrel to make sure." Like, and so he's just
Not a good idea. Not a good
um,
idea. That's why toys are dangerous. So I'm going to open my book here, my playbook,
these
and
ones aren't dangerous on the level that like we're going to be talking about, but that this is what kind of got me started. I was like, yeah, this thing you could hurt somebody with this if you shot them right in the eye, or convince them to shoot themselves in the eye.
all right. So I'm going to lead here
Go ahead.
with the most dangerous toys. And so some of these I heard I saw on the list, and I said, I'm not going to include that on my list. And then I read why they were dangerous, and I thought to myself, oh shit. So bouncy houses were on a number of lists that I saw of most dangerous toys, and I thought to myself, well, that's got to be bullshit because you're kind of jumping around this bouncy house. Like you understand, like you're getting a little more air than normal. You can bump into people, you can fall off. But the real danger in bouncy houses is that they can actually fly away.
Oh
And
yeah.
on windy days, I mean,
If
I
they're
think
not anchored properly, yeah.
if I blow up a bouncy house in my backyard, just like if I had a tent in my backyard, my first instinct would not be to anchor it. And when a cold front or something can come in pretty quickly, and that wind can pick up, and what happens is kids get swept 20, 40 feet up in the air inside of these bouncy houses, and it actually, and obviously depends on where you are. If you live in somewhere there's wider plains there, you can get some crazy winds. So that is the real danger in bouncy houses, is they have to be properly secured to the ground, and then even still, depending where and what the weather is like, these things can fly away.
Yeah, and if they rotate the wrong way, they just dump the kids out from 80 feet up in the air.
Fucking insane. I was like, oh, bouncy houses. Yeah, kids, maybe break their ankle like that. It's an inherent risk. And then it's like, well, these things are known to fly away on a pretty regular basis. Oh shit.
What?
All right. What do you have on yours?
This one I had never heard of before.
No, you think it's fair if we just go back? I'll give you one. Yeah. All right.
So this one is called Aqua Dots. Had you ever heard of these?
Oh, I am now very familiar with Aqua Dots. I actually watched a commercial for Aqua Dots, and they looked vaguely familiar. But tell us what Aqua Dots are and why they're dangerous, because this is nuts.
Yeah, this is crazy. So it's these little colored balls that you can use to like create little like dot art.
It's like that. What was that? The light bright. It's like the light bright.
Kind of like a light bright
colored pins.
Yeah, but it's just like little balls of different colors that you can like put to like paper and like stick them together, and then it'll look like a pixel art. And the way it worked is like there's a coating on the outside of the ball that once it got wet, it would kind of glue together with the other balls. So,
why? How is this dangerous? How is this dangerous, James?
I looked at it, I was like, I mean, maybe a choking hazard if you swallow it or something, but no, they were small enough that like you wouldn't choke on them. Turns out that the coating of these balls would be metabolized into GHB, and for those of you who don't know, GHB is like the date rape drug. So like little kids, because as you said, kids eat everything, they would eat some of these and then end up giving themselves like a massive dose of a date rape drug.
Yeah, I guess 2 kids were left in a coma because of the Aqua Dots. That's actually one I got a star on my list for. Isn't that wild?
I can't believe that one. Like,
but the thing is, I guess you don't think about these chemicals and what other applications they were used in, and I don't know. Major oversight, really, really fucking dumb. I don't know who made Aqua Dots, like Hasbro or somebody. All right, so I got one for you, and this is a more recent. It's a more recent product. It's called the Hoverboard. You familiar with the Hoverboard? The new Hoverboard?
Yeah. So like those ones look dangerous on their face just because like if you fall off and you face plant or something like that. But I don't think that's the reason why, right?
Well, there's 2 reasons. So the Hoverboard itself it doesn't actually hover. It's got 2 wheels on each side of it, and then a platform that pivots in the middle, and you stand on it. Now, these things...
And the way you move your feet makes it move, right?
Unless you have incredible balance, you're falling off. And your best bet is to do it either at home in a grassy, very soft grass area, or in a part of your house with a carpet where you can't pick up that much speed and there's nothing sharp around you that you can bump into. Lots of broken bones, mostly in the wrist and arm because people are falling that way, some broken tailbones. But also, and here's the second part, these hoverboards catch on fire.
That was the part that I wouldn't have expected. People falling off of something like that, totally predictable.
Have you tried riding one of these hoverboards?
I have not. I've seen them.
It is, and the thing is, you watch some people and they just kind of get around with them very naturally, and it's very, very, very difficult. Actually, Raj just brought up a comment that they are forbidden in New York. So I actually think they were forbidden to be sold in New York, but for a while they were taking off like crazy because people could just get them, and with a little practice, you get proficient enough to get. You got to get to a certain proficiency level where you can actually get around on them, and then once you can get around on them, you can get really good at them. And people were commuting with them; they were riding down the sidewalks very frequently. Maybe 5 years ago or so in the city, they were all over the place. And now I see them very infrequently, and I guess they're illegal to use on New York.
But yeah, apparently the batteries could catch on fire,
Yeah,
which compounds some other problems.
there's a few other products that we'll touch base that have very similar problems. What do you got next?
Let's see. This one sounds pretty great. In the 1960s, you could buy atomic laboratory kits.
Oh, that dude, you're skipping to my best ones on here. Are you talking about the AC Gilbert Atomic Energy Lab?
Yes, I am. That came with actual uranium in it.
Actual uranium, along with a guide called How to Prospect for Uranium.
Yeah, well, the guide's not going to be too dangerous because unless you're in the right part of the world, you're not finding
Yeah,
any.
very unlikely, yeah.
But having some level of purity sample of uranium, because like, have you ever seen uranium glass?
I don't know, but I had a conversation the other weekend about when we kind of discovered uranium and radioactive materials that people were drinking radioactive water. People thought that, and
Yeah,
it was glowing. That it
marketed
was,
as like a health thing.
yeah. Also, my understanding that the guy who invented this radioactive water as a health supplement, his jaw actually fell off.
Well, and there was also like uranium paint that was used on watches to have like a glowing face in the dark.
There's a movie I
And
think about this. Yeah,
and like the women that painted those on, like what they would often do is like between painting each one, they'd lick the brush to clear it, and like all of them had jaw cancer, and all of them like lost like the lower half of their face to cancer because of having uranium paint in their mouth.
yeah. Uranium is not something that's fucking insane. It's sad. But I can't even feel sad about it because the emotion going through me is just kind of like utter disbelief. But that's what happens when we stumble across some new invention. Really crazy.
And radioactivity is just not intuitive at all. You just look at it and be like, how is this rock producing something?
Yeah. For those of you who would like to join and comment, we'd love to know what you think are the most dangerous toys of all time. And if you want to call in, you got to click the link in my Instagram profile while we are live, and you can call in and tell us what you think is dangerous.
This isn't really a toy, but Rosh is talking about liquid mercury and thermometers, where you'd have a mercury switch, where like when the temperature got above a certain amount, the switch would pivot, and then the mercury would complete the circuit, and the heat or the air conditioning would go on, and then when the temperature switched, it would go back, and the mercury would cut the circuit out. Those weren't actually dangerous unless you broke them.
I think at one point when I was young, very young, we actually played with liquid mercury in the classroom.
Yeah, they made us take precautions.
Yeah, but
Not
yeah,
much.
mercury is dangerous, and
It's not dangerous if you just have it in your hand for a few minutes. Like if you swallow it, yeah, that's bad news.
Yeah, but you can get mercury poisoning through eating tuna fish, right? Canned fish, or not just I think it's not canned fish. It has to do with where the fish are
yeah,
from.
but it depends on where. But the fish will retain mercury in their body, so like if you have too much fish, then yeah, that's a problem. But you can actually get mercury poisoning from skin contact alone, but it takes a long time. Like playing around with it in your hand for 5 minutes or so, you're not really at risk as long as you wash your hand thoroughly afterwards before like you eat or anything else. But like if you leave your hand soaking in it all day long, yeah, that's probably bad too.
All right. So what? Who's up next? Oh, that's
You.
me. So yeah. So but either way, the Gilbert's got a few products that are actually so that Atomic Energy Lab that you cited, that toy,
Mm-hmm.
it cost $50 in the 1950s. So
That's
roughly,
kind of a lot of money back
yeah,
then.
probably $500 or $600 in today's dollars. So that's quite the toy.
I don't know. I'd probably pay $500 or $600 for some real uranium.
I think that would be a cool ass tool. Apparently, there's like a globe where you can see like atoms kind of spin out, and
Oh, you're talking about like a cloud chamber?
exactly what it is.
Cloud chambers are cool.
Yeah, and you can see these radioactive atoms kind of spin off.
Yeah, you see the trails of the radiation coming from whatever the sample, and it's super cool looking.
So I mean, to me, that would be worth dropping $500 on a kid's toy. All right, so
But you've got if you just buy a smoke detector, there's americium in that's radioactive. If you could make a cloud chamber on your own and then just take apart a smoke detector, do it carefully, and then put the americium in the middle, and that would work.
most of the times I disassemble smoke detectors is with the end of a broomstick.
Fajita night?
Does that qualify as carefully?
No.
So this toy called Magnetics, and through doing the research for this episode, I found a lot of toys that had magnetic components. What happens is whatever's encasing the magnetic part of it can break. So if there's a plastic piece encasing a magnetic connector, in this case the magnetics, which are building blocks, building toys with magnetic connecting points, the magnets fall out, and then because kids are kids and babies try to put everything in their mouth, babies happen to eat these magnets. And the issue with eating magnets, if you eat one magnet, not so bad. If you eat two magnets, there's a very high likeliness that one will travel further through your digestive tract, and then the other one will get caught up and connect with it while it's at a different point in your digestive tract, and now your insides start to not work as well, and it can actually do some really bad damage.
Yeah, you can get like holes in your intestines or intestinal blockages, all sorts of stuff you don't want.
Yeah, and it's not like snaking a drain in your kitchen or in your
No,
toilet.
you have to do surgery for that.
They have to. Yeah, it would be like if you had a plugged drain somewhere in the wall. You got to cut the wall out. You got to remove the pipe. You got to splice the pipe back together. And the problem is this happens with babies, and babies are very soft, and you probably don't want to be cutting them. So magnets bad for kids.
Yeah, that was another thing that I found across my research was like a really common theme was anything that had small magnets.
Yeah, no. Go ahead. What do you got
this
next?
One's a classic.
What is it?
Real quick, we're gonna say how to. What was that? Mayrark 78. Mayrark. We're talking about dangerous toys. So if you got any either dangerous or favorite dangerous toys, let us know. So this one's a classic. Lawn darts.
Oh yeah, that one has a big star next to it on my list. You know the keyword that made my joke. So the idea that you're throwing big darts, that's you can see the danger there. But I don't know if you read what I read or what article you were reading, but there was one phrase that really just kind of made my jaw drop, and I was like, oh fuck. You know what that is?
No.
Punctured skulls.
Yeah. Because these things were heavy. They probably weighed like a half pound to a pound.
They're mini javelins.
Yeah, and they're metal tipped and they're relatively sharp. And the idea is that you're throwing them high up in the air to land somewhere in the yard. But if you ever played any kind of yard games where you're throwing things back and forth, like cornhole or whatever, usually you have like two groups of people throwing back and forth. So like you have a bad shot and you miss high or whatever and it hits somebody in the head, like it can pierce the skull.
We were kids with a bow and arrow. I used to just shoot the bow and arrow up into the air and then just go run and hide. So yeah, I could tell you as kids, they're not the most responsible, and that's intentionally being irresponsible. But with a lawn dart, you could just kind of wing it around, hoping it's going to kind of come off at whatever vector there, and you might let go an instant later, and it just goes right into your friend's chest.
Yeah, I think if you were to say like what's a dangerous toy, most people would say like their first response would be lawn darts.
Yeah, I think if you really think it, but not everybody's familiar with lawn darts.
Maybe we're old.
Maybe we are old, but yeah, lawn darts and punctured skulls. So then I got Power Wheels on the list for a number of reasons, but you're basically making children more mobile and and they're in a
How is
car.
that any different than like a bike?
Well, because a bike is difficult enough and takes a bit of skill, but if you put a 2-year-old in a small car and think about where you're doing this, imagine your driveway. What does your driveway lead to? The road. So you turn your back for a second, and the child's just trying to stand up inside this thing, and it's just traveling backwards at 11 miles an hour, and
Into
into
traffic.
traffic. So that there's that part. The other part.
Well, they're also easy to operate. Like any kid can figure out that you press your foot down and it moves, and that the steering wheel makes it turn.
So, but apparently the mechanics of them are quite bad. So the accelerators get stuck. Some crazy stuff. Plus, because it's an electronic toy with a battery, high risk of catching on fire. So another two-parter for the same reason as the hoverboard, except you're less likely to break bones using Power Wheels, and more likely to get run over by an actual car driving a Power Wheel.
Speaking of wheels and catching on fire, this is one that I would have never thought of. But did you find Rollerblade Barbie in your research?
Oh yes, we had one of those. My sister had one, and then I think I probably had like the Ken version of it. But they were Barbie dolls with rollerblades on them, and the rollerblade was. Oh, tell me I have one here. Oh, I don't. The little mechanism in the lighter.
Flint.
It was but the mechanism in the lighter was the last wheel of the rollerblade. So when you would scrape these rollerblades on the ground, sparks would come out of Barbie and Ken's feet.
Which is really cool.
It is really cool.
Let's be fair, it's cool.
But in terms of dangerous toys, rollerblade Barbie and rollerblade Ken.
Yeah, let's teach kids to play with lighters inside.
Yeah. Well, I mean, just imagine that. Imagine you're a kid and you pick up a rollerblade Barbie, and then you pick up a lighter, and you're like, "This is the same thing." And then all of a sudden, you're actually just playing with a lighter, which is going to create some actual flames. So very dangerous. Awesome toy.
Yeah, those definitely could like accidentally light something on fire in a house, and I'm sure they did.
So actually, back to lawn darts, because there's another fact about them I wanted to share. They were banned in 1988, and the government ordered all of them to be destroyed.
I wonder if you can still buy them.
Well, they were banned and they were ordered to be destroyed. So you might be able to buy them on like eBay.
The research department is
All
on
right,
it.
well, you're up next in a second because I got a quick one. This is an obvious one, but I feel like it had to be mentioned. Is a trampoline, and we play quite a bit on trampolines. It's very inherent risk. You are leaping and bounding 6, 10, potentially 12 feet into the air. This thing is suspended 4 feet above the ground, so you're getting massive air, and you're not always in direct control of where you're about to land. So broken bones, concussions,
broken
necks. Yeah, trampolines are very dangerous. I see so many people now with trampolines, and they have the netting around the trampoline.
That's a good start. But even still, like if you try and do like a backflip or something on a trampoline and you land on your head or your neck at a weird angle, even still on the trampoline, you're still in trouble.
Yeah, the trampoline surface is taut, so you can really, really hurt yourself. Did you find any lawn darts for sale?
I did, but none of the classic ones that actually like dug in and stuck into the ground. All the ones that I could find. Yeah, unfortunately not. All the other ones, like even the ones that looked weighted, had like a snub nose, or some of them had like kind of almost like an arrow tip, but it was plastic and like a fledged arrow tip.
Well, maybe you could retrofit that. Actually, you're up, and then I got another one that we can.
Yeah, just buy a block of lead and melt it down into points.
All right, what else you got?
Let's see. You know what? This is one that surprised me. Slip and slides.
That surprised you? I would think
Yeah.
now. I don't know why it's dangerous. I actually didn't. I saw it a few times, but I didn't. I did I write it on my list? I don't think I wrote it on my list at all because to me that was like one step below the trampoline because you're not actually getting any air.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you can certainly engineer a situation in which a slip and slide would be dangerous, and people have. But the core of its concept of like you're on a flat piece of grass and you put this plastic down and you make it wet and then you just like take a run and go slide across it. To me, that doesn't sound particularly
So how
dangerous.
are they
But
dangerous?
apparently, like if you're heavier, then like going from if you go on the slip and slide and you overshoot and you land on the grass, like you go past the plastic
Mm-hmm.
part, like the sudden stopping of going onto a higher friction surface could actually injure like your back or your neck because of like kind of the whiplash from it.
Yeah, especially if it's like a hot day and that grass just outside the slip and slide isn't wet with the runoff water. You know, I don't know if you went here with me or not, but one of my favorite things I did at a party was friends out on what's it, Pleasant Island or something? What's the island?
James Island, was
No,
this the one the ice luge?
no, this wasn't James Island. It was like the
Daniel
Mount
Island?
Pleasant area, I think.
Mount
The
Pleasant? Sullivan's
Yeah,
Island?
Sullivan's Island, and they had a house. It was right near the beach, like a block from the beach. But we used to go to the beach for the day and then come back and party at the house. They had a 40-foot by like 40-foot tarp, and they set up some sprinklers on this. And then they got like gallon jugs of baby oil and any oil they could find, fucking olive oil, threw it all over this thing, and just made a giant slip and slide that covered the entire backyard. And people were just running across the slip and slide, just doing crazy shit all day long. It was actually a brilliant idea, total frat house move, but it was pretty cool. I've never seen anybody do anything like.
And think about how much that would cost. How much does a tarp cost?
Yeah, very
$10?
cheap.
And how much does like 2 or 3 bottles of baby oil
This
cost?
is a big tarp though, but yeah, man,
My point
badass party
stands.
idea. Unless these greasy ass people are going to be entering your home, and as a new homeowner, I'm sure you can understand. You don't want these people sitting on your furniture.
Yeah, that's not something that I would do here, but I'm also not 22
All right, so
anymore.
so we got slip and slide. So on,
It's
yeah,
your turn.
so we get the lawn darts. Uh, you know, this didn't actually appear on any of my searches, but yo-yos. Weren't yo-yos invented by like the Chinese army as an actual weapon?
I have
That's
no idea.
maybe that's just a myth, but yo-yos have got to be freaking dangerous. Imagine getting clocked in the face by one of your friends doing some slinky dink yo-yo walk the dog trick.
Maybe dangerous to others. It's probably less dangerous to yourself.
You ever see these nerds using the nunchucks and they just clock themselves in the head?
Yeah, nunchucks are good for hitting yourself either in the head or the
Yeah.
nards.
All right. So we'll cross yo-yos off the list pretty quick. You're up. We'll see who runs after.
Yo, I like this one. Did you come across the CSI fingerprint examination kit?
So seemingly brilliant science gift for your child. It's a fingerprinting kit. Okay.
You got the powder, you got the duster, you got the like tape to lift
And
the
what's it do? These kids are
fingerprints.
doing lines of the fingerprinting powder, or
No, it's way worse than that.
it is. Go ahead.
It turns out that the fingerprinting powder contained up to like 5% asbestos.
So you're just giving kids asbestos dust and letting them play with it. This is awesome. This is awesome.
Yeah, let's make sure that it gets good and aerosolized too, so that it's easier to breathe in.
And it's also got something in there called tremolite. I don't.
I don't know what that
either.
is.
I'll let you search that. But yeah, this fingerprinting kit is just poisoning children, giving them asbestos poisoning, and whatever tremolite is. But it's my understanding that that is also bad. It's wild. All right, so you had the CSI fingerprinting kit. I will one up you. I'm guessing CSI fingerprinting kit is more recent, probably 90s or so.
Let me
Did
look
you
at the
find out what
dates. 2007 is when
Oh shit.
when it was flagged as like, hey, this is a problem.
All right. So I got for you Gilbert, also the manufacturer of the Atomic Energy Lab, Gilbert's glass blowing kit.
So that's legitimately cool.
It is it
Imagine being able to blow glass
it,
at
it
home.
I guess it came with these little glass vials that you would heat up over a Bunsen burner, and again, this wasn't cheap. This is $50 for the Atomic Energy Lab in the 1950s. So I'm guessing glass blowing kit probably cheaper just because of cost of materials. There's no uranium in this.
Yeah.
So my guess is 15, 25 bucks. I don't know the exact price, but I'm sure they could even include a Bunsen burner in there for less than $50, 1950s money. And it came with these glass tubes that you would heat up, and then I guess you would blow into them. But just think about this: two factors here: hot ass melting glass, major burns, and then what happens when the glass hardens?
It's
Well,
still
but
hot.
after it's cooled, it's still fucking glass. So if you
Yeah.
drop it, just I mean, oh man, you slice. I mean, this is bad. This is dangerous on so many levels.
Have you ever seen like glass blowing done?
Yes, I think it's very cool, and they make it look super simple.
Yeah.
And I cannot imagine it is simple at all, and I imagine it takes an immense amount of practice. Now, if you drop the glass and you break it, you can just throw that like the shards back in your glass melter, right? Start over.
Maybe because I don't know the answer to this, but I would think that maybe like any crap that's on the floor that gets picked up by it might be a problem.
But maybe that would sink to the bottom of the vat of molten glass.
That's
Yeah,
why I don't know. Is like it could just get burned off and who cares, or it could be impurities that you don't want to introduce back into like the molten glass that you're
fair enough.
working with.
All right. Science kids, you got the Gilbert's Atomic Energy Lab, the CSI fingerprint kit with asbestos, the glass blowing kit. What else do you have on your list here?
Um, let's
Oh,
see.
go ahead.
They're inflatable baby boats.
Oh, are these the ones that that were like strangling kids or something?
No, although when I saw it, that was my first
Yeah.
thought. So it's just like a little rubber ring that's inflatable that like you can put a baby in, and they've got a boat that they can float around in the pool. Apparently, the issue was that like you'd put the kids through the legs, and there'd be like a plastic mesh support to keep them attached to the boat. And apparently, that plastic was thin and flimsy and could
Oh, yeah.
break. So now the kid just goes
So yeah,
sinking
so the
through.
parents think they have their kid secured. They turn their back for 6 minutes, and there's no baby.
But there is a baby. It's just at the bottom.
Babies I guess don't float very well. I don't know. Um, so Raj said, not a toy, but a stupid practical joke. A heavy bucket of water perched on the top of a door, and then the person comes through the door, soaks himself. That was a good joke. They
Yeah, the problem is like if the bucket falls and doesn't dump the water, now you're just dropping 30 pounds on someone's head.
All right. So what were we talking about with the fingerprint kit? All right. So
Oh, speaking of heat and
I'm on the
burns and
same
everything,
page as
I
you.
can't
I'm on
believe
the
we
same.
haven't.
Go for it. No, you
Okay,
throw it
you
out
go
there. I want to
ahead.
make sure we're talking about the same one.
Easy bake oven.
So Easy Bake Oven has heat plates in it that will cook the food, but apparently it traps kids' fingers inside. So kids reach in this machine, they can actually get their fingers stuck. And I actually read that there was one incidence of a partial finger amputation because somebody.
But even if you couldn't get your finger trapped in there, imagine like this is being marketed to like 6 and 7 year old girls to do like some home baking or whatever. And those things legitimately got up to like 350 or 400 degrees. They actually cooked the
Yeah,
food.
they actually cook the food all right. the boy version of the Easy Bake Oven. Do you know what that is? You had to have come across this one.
Was this like the molds that you could make of like rubber like insects
This
and
was
stuff like
creepy
that?
crawlers. Creepy crawlers were molds of
Yeah.
spiders and bugs and worms, and then you would mix together. So the Easy Bake Oven burns, and you can get your fingers caught in it. Creepy crawler machine was another oven, and you would put this liquid plastic material in there, and then bake it, and it would turn them into these rubberized insects. So
And you put it
so
into a
yeah, so
metal
the metal
mold.
molds, you could get burned on these things, but that wasn't the only part of this. You know what the other dangerous part of this creepy crawler kit was?
I'm pretty sure I actually had one of those and made them when I was a kid, and I can still
I
remember
was
the
thinking the
smell
exact
of the
same thing.
plastic.
Exactly. But apparently those fumes, that the goo that you're putting in there is actually toxic. And I know for certain
Yeah,
I
it
must have
smelled
eaten that as a
toxic.
kid. I used to eat everything. So uh, all right.
I'm still thinking about the time that you ate the
Yeah,
sandwich
you just
with the
gotta crunch
toothpick
down
in
on it. Oh no, that was actually I ate a sandwich not knowing I had eaten the toothpick, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Whoops. That was a crunchy sandwich. uh, all right. What else do I have here? Is it my turn or your turn? All right. All right.
You go ahead.
This is an easy one. This is bullshit, but I don't even want to use up my turn with this one. But slap bracelets,
Those were so big
slap
in
it on,
like
it flips its way
third
around.
grade.
Do you know why they were dangerous?
Well, it's because it's metal in them,
There was
and
a
it would
thin piece of
be
metal,
sharp.
and thin metal, exactly, can be sharp. And kids, the fabric on the outside would fray, and then kids would slice themselves with this metal. I actually remember them being banned. I remember them being super popular, and then they were just like, "No, you can't have these things." And I just remember as a kid being like, "You're kidding me, right? There's no danger in this thing whatsoever." But I mean, I don't think there's any more danger in a slap bracelet and having a fully sharpened pencil. You know what I'm saying? Like, they didn't ban fucking pencils in elementary.
Yeah. Do you
Paper
remember
wasp.
paper
Yeah.
wasps?
So I was reading, like, they were saying, oh, the slingshot is dangerous. Fucking paper wasp. You want to describe what that is?
You take a piece of paper and you fold it over itself a number of times until it's just super thick, and then you bend it in half so it's kind of in like a boomerang shape. And you want it to be maybe an inch to an inch and a half long, so it's maybe like half an inch to 3/4 of an inch on either side. And then you take a rubber band and you pull it back, and you can and shoot at somebody on the other side of the classroom,
those things
and
will
those
really
things
whip.
hurt.
The more dangerous version of that is here. Is the paper clip. I don't know if you can see
Yep, the
it.
paper
And then
clip.
when you bend this paper clip, you get this really sharp, pointy piece that comes out. And this is a tiny paper clip, but if you do it with a larger paper clip, you can get the same effect. I can't believe I'm describing this to people. Don't do this. Don't. This is. I mean, you could really fuck somebody up, and if you do this to somebody, you're getting in trouble, dude. And then you pull it back just like the paper wasp, except you did this in school, you'd probably get fucking expelled. You did a paper wasp, you might get fucking detention.
I remember that was when people were doing the paper wasps and nobody really protested all that much, but then some people started doing it with paper clips, and I don't remember what caused it to stop,
Somebody,
but that was when
yeah,
everyone's like, all
probably
right, this
somebody's
has gone
parents,
too
even
far.
back then. Uh,
Which, you know what, I'm okay with the paper wasps because the only way you're gonna get hurt is if you get hit directly in the eye with one of
But
those.
it could still happen
But
because kids are dumb. All right, so I got a quick one.
mm-hmm.
Flubber. Flubber was this kind of rubbery, slimy goo, but apparently it caused rash. It caused kids to get rashes, which you don't want that. And they had to stop producing it, but because it wouldn't sink or dilute in water, and they couldn't burn it, they had to bury it behind their warehouse. So they dug out behind the Flubber warehouse and buried all this potential Flubber. So it's back there. What else do you have here?
I'm looking at some of these other ones. Oh, the yo-yo water
Yeah.
balls. So it's like this stringy thing that's like a ball on the end of like this gooey, stringy string that just kind of bounces up and back and
so
forth.
there's two reasons why these are dangerous. Do you
But
know what they are?
the one is that like you can get it wrapped around your neck if you're a little kid and you're clumsy, and now you're
And you know
strangled.
the other one, the toxicity of the liquid that's inside the ball. So
if it breaks and you like
kids
the
eat
kid
everything,
eats it because kids eat everything.
Yeah, and also the choking hazard if you suffocate yourself with it. All right, I got one for you. Have you heard of Sky Dance flying dolls? The Sky Dancers, they're flying dolls.
No, hold on. I'm looking at it. It's not something
Well,
that would have been
I have a
marketed
younger
to my
sister,
demographic.
and I had a younger sister when I was younger. So it's a doll, and she perches in a little base, and her arms are wings, and it's got a ripcord on it. So you pull the ripcord, she starts to spin, her arms start to come out, and they create a helicopter-like blade, and she's just rotating, spinning around. There's actually a funny. This is like old like VHS camcorder video. I think it was probably on like America's Funniest Home Video. And this girl gets this for Christmas, and she pulls the ripcord, and it just floats up in the air and flies right into the fireplace. All right, so you got the Sky Dancer dolls. What else you got?
This is less of a toy, but this is crazy to me because I look at it and it doesn't look dangerous at all. But Burger King
I heard
Pokemon
about this.
balls.
You know what it does?
If you get it like stuck over your nose and your
the
mouth.
perfect size ball that a kid can get it caught on the bottom of their chin, and it's got a little hole to go over your nose. It's got a little divot there's a little circle on the Pokeball, and what it does, it suctions right over a kid's mouth and nose, and can really even the nose hole doesn't allow you to breathe. It just covers kind of the bridge of your nose, and it was suffocating kids at Burger King supposedly.
This is all right. So I had never heard of this one, but it makes complete sense. And it brings me back to when you had the boat.
Oh, that was the next one on my list.
Kite tubes.
Oh yeah.
Then do it.
So kite tubes are like you go tubing behind a boat. So kite tubes are a type of tube designed to catch air. Now I didn't read anything saying they had been discontinued, but these kite tubes would bring you 25 feet up in the air behind a boat going 25 miles an hour, and just send people fucking flying through the air.
Yeah, and if you're holding on to it, because there's all sorts of aerodynamic flutter. So, like, if you're holding on to it, like, the idea that, like, all of a sudden you might catch something and, like, it just slams you down faster than gravity would bring
faster
you
than gravity
back into the water. You're already going, like, 25 or 30 miles an hour, and now you've got aerodynamics pushing you into the water.
The air the right way, you're going to nosedive. And then when you hit, anybody who's ever gone water skiing or tubing, when you fall off and you hit the water, it feels the water doesn't give. You might as well go flying out of a car and bounce along the cement because you just kind of hit the water and roll and sprawl out. It's no good. It's so I can imagine these kite tubes kill people.
I still have memories of watching a 300-pound friend of ours skip 3 or 4 times,
and not those
close
lake. Skips, like when you're skipping stones, like right before it goes underwater. We're talking like the first few skips, the ones that are like 30 feet, 30 feet. This guy's never seen.
You're not going to go too fast,
like
are
that
you?
before.
No.
And never since. We were terrible with that boat, man. We used to fucking rip each other around. Not even just on the tubes, on the knee boards, the skis. We used to do that, towing somebody behind a car every time there was a blizzard when we were kids, we would get the tubes and the sleds and whatever else, and we would tow people behind the cars through the blizzard.
On like country roads where there were ditches, I remember I was getting towed one time, and like my tube slid off into the ditch, and I'm just getting blasted in the face with deep snow, so I can't see anything at like 30 miles an hour, and somehow I caught a glimpse of a mailbox.
Oh my god! Wait,
It like was able to bail
we did
before
this.
like I might have hit the mailbox, but by the
We
time I
did this
hit
for
it, I was like
years.
slowed down enough. But I just remember like just like this
We
one
would do this
frame glimpse of a
minimum half a
mailbox.
dozen
And I'm
times a
like, I
year.
got
Like every snowstorm we got, that we used to just grab friends, drive to different friends' houses, pick them up with the tow rope from the boat behind, tied to the back of the Jeep, and we just throw them the rope and say jump on. And there'd be two, we had Jeep Wranglers, so there'd be 2 feet of snow on the ground, and we just go out driving through the country roads, the mountain. It couldn't be a main road because we didn't want to get run over by a plow. But we used to do it in, we did it at the what's that college there in the parking lot on the RPI. Yeah, we were
RPI.
All right, I got a few more. I really want to hit before we run out of time. Slip and slide, Skydancer dolls. Flubber, what else?
Yo, here's one that's not dangerous,
that?
but I think is pretty funny. Did you ever hear about the Harry Potter Nimbus 3000 toy broom? So, it was like a toy broom that like after the Harry Potter movies, and like you could press a button on it that would turn on an electric motor that would make it
So you're
vibrate, so, it
giving
felt like
little
you were
kids
flying around
vibrators.
on a broom.
That's terrible.
Yeah, it was
So
super
water
popular with
guns.
young
Rosh has got
girls.
water guns. Nobody says it has to be filled with water. What if a psycho put lighter fluid in it? I have packed water guns with liquor before. I think that's a brilliant idea. All right.
That's why I
Same
bought my
idea.
Camelback.
All right. So this one is actually funny and also kind of sad and creepy. But the Snack Time Cabbage Patch doll. Snack Time Cabbage Patch doll. A doll designed with an eating mechanism. So this doll mechanically kind of intakes food, and girls could get their fingers stuck in there, or even worse, their hair stuck inside this doll that was trying to mechanically digest them.
How
But
strong was
this
the
is not a
mechanism?
newer
Do we
product. This has got to be like 90s or earlier. So I can imagine an electric engine on a Power Wheels in the 90s was probably a hell of a lot stronger than one from now. So I imagine an eating mechanism on a doll. Does you got a you don't have an electronic garage door, right? And now the new ones have not just the safety laser beams, but they also, if it senses it's being stopped, it will reverse itself. That's a newer technology. So not a complex one, but it's a newer employed technology. But the Cabbage Patch mechanical eating doll, Snack Time Cabbage Patch doll. All right, I got a couple more. What else you got? All right, so
You keep
moon
on going.
shoes. Did you come across moon shoes? You remember moon shoes? Yeah, they were
I
mini
remember moon
trampolines that you
shoes.
strapped to your feet. So the real danger there was
Yeah.
people breaking their ankles or breaking their wrists and their tailbones as they fell down. I still think that's a great. I hope that's not discontinued because moon shoes are an awesome,
Oh, it totally was.
an awesome invention. Like the hoverboard, don't just put out more warnings, but don't discontinue.
Well, speaking of the
Oh,
hoverboard, like, do you remember the
that came on the
Razer
list a few
Scooters?
times. I didn't think it was.
I was in San Diego, and somebody went by me and my brother on a Razer scooter, and I was just like, I feel like you weren't truly an owner of a Razer scooter until you had an
Shins,
inch
yeah,
deep
God.
gash
But they're
in
all
one of your
motorized
shins.
now. They all have electric motors on them. So I see commuters. You're thinking about the old metal.
No,
Razors.
I'm thinking about
Yeah.
like it was just like
Yeah,
a
yeah.
metal platform with two
And they
rollerblades.
were meant to like do some
fast.
tricks. But now adult grown-up people who think they're serious people are riding them around on their way to and from work. Electric scooters, yeah.
Oh
I,
yeah,
I,
the
I
electric
just
scooters.
because the wheels are so small on those, you hit a bump in the road, you are, or imagine you catch a sewer grate.
Yo,
I
drunk
see it
people get
happen. I've
hurt on
seen it
those
happen in
all the time.
Florida. I know they have a lot of those in Florida. They just don't look safe to me, man. No way.
Charleston doesn't have them,
Bikes
which
are
is
way
actually a
safer.
great thing.
All right, so I want to do one. Let's see. I want to do kind of one sad one, just because it kept coming up and it kept coming up and it kept coming up. But mini hammocks, basically children's hammocks, and what? So you know when you have a hammock, it has these kind of bars, these crossbars. So it's got the part where you like lay in, and then it's got a stick across it, and then it kind of comes back down in a triangle and attached to a tree or whatever. Yeah, but it's got a cross
Yeah, like the
beam in it. Well, these mini
suspension.
hammocks didn't, and there were a lot of kids that unfortunately strangled themselves on hammock. Yeah, which is
Just
really a
got
shame.
caught
But
up in it.
apparently, that was one that was like designed to be marketed towards kids, and well, bummer there. That sucks.
Oh, another good one.
Cozy Coop.
Do you
No, I
remember
don't
the
know what that
Cozy
is.
Coop? Is it a little like
Oh,
toy
I know
car that
exactly what
you
you're
could
talking
sit
about.
in
Yeah,
and
yeah,
like
yeah,
use
like
your
a
feet?
Flintstone car.
Yeah. So those things were pretty unstable and could go face forward. My brother actually was like being pushed by like some friends, and they weren't trying to hurt him, but like because
And they
the
don't weigh
balance of it
anything.
was
It's
so
hollow. It's hollow
forward that
plastic.
like they're yeah. So he's probably going like 5 or 6 miles an hour as his friends are pushing him, and it either catches a bump or they
Mhm.
just pushed too high on the car, but they just flipped it up. So now he's
Yeah,
and
there's no
also your
actual
face
windshield
is
on
right there.
there.
Yeah, so his face is
No,
basically
which
what
brother?
stopped the
Youngest or the
momentum
middle
of the
brother?
car.
Oh yeah, that's not
The
good.
nerve.
All right, so here's one I thought was, and I had one of these. Oh yeah, oh fuck, we never hit rockets. We never hit toy rockets. Do you remember the toy rockets? Eskies- No,
Like the ones with
no,
water in
Estes
them that you
rockets where
could
they
like
actually
stomp
had like
rockets.
a ignition fuse and everything.
Oh yeah, well like for some
Yeah,
people
I
like
used
you
to
could get
build them,
pretty
and I
serious
used to
with
like
those.
paint them, and I had like different superhero logos that I would cut out of magazines and glue on them, and I got really into that.
Yeah, and if you had a good one, you could
Yeah,
easily
the
get up
Estes
to
rockets. A
1,000 or
lot of
2,000
kids
feet.
really hurt themselves. All right, so here's the other one though, and this one actually you could see how this could unintentionally could do some harm. Is a wood burning design kit. So they give you wood, and then they give you a pen that gets really hot enough to obviously burn and etch into the wood, and you would leave burn marks on the wood, and you would spell out your name or whatever else.
Yeah, cool
Yeah, I
idea.
had one when
Not
I was a
something you
kid,
should be giving
but I could
kids.
see how that could catch on fire. Um, you have anything else? Because I have one last one. Is the Austin
Go
Magic
ahead.
pistol from the 1950s, which, yeah, you would put a
This one
ping
came
pong
up a
ball in
lot
it,
too.
and it had calcium carbide and little crystals of that, and you would mix it with water. But these things would react to basically any moisture. They'd react to saliva, and the calcium carbide, when it gets wet, basically explodes, and that propels this ping pong ball with an immense amount of force for a ping pong ball out of the gun with a big bang and flames. So, and flames. Yeah, you got to look up some
And
videos of this
flames?
thing. They're newer videos of people getting their hand. Maybe they retrofitted them a little bit, but we're talking some serious power, some flammability, some real serious gun action. Uh, Crazy stuff. And I think, the clackers.
Oh
So
yeah,
I
yeah,
thought
yeah.
that was
That one came
bullshit.
up a lot
Clacker is like the
too.
thing that has the little triangle on it, like this, with a little plastic ball in the end, and you go like this, and it clacks back and forth. Well, when they said,
Yeah,
yeah,
those
they'd
are
go
fun.
flying off or they'd
I
break
had
into
one.
little shards. Well, I looked at pictures of some of the original ones, and it wasn't like hard plastic like we have now. It was almost like more of a crystalline, or like it looked like it was what
It was like
marbles were made
ceramic.
out of. And what would happen is that you would crack those things together, and they could actually the plastic was almost a glass, and shards of that would go flying out, and they would just imagine like hard candy compared to like
If
a
it-
hard piece of plastic. Hard candy shatters, and that
Yeah, and like if it shatters and it
exactly.
breaks
Yeah,
into
with
your
that type of
face.
force.
Yeah, because the
That's
ones
the-
I had were plastic, which like, like it was just relatively soft
That's the
plastic. It
newer
would be
one.
pretty
All
hard
right.
to hurt yourself.
We're out. This is a full episode. We've got a lot of these in here. This was pretty cool, actually. So we're out of time. I want to thank everybody for coming. I want to thank Rosh Galeb for feeding us your comments on Instagram and TikTok. See you guys next time. Adios.
All right, cheers, guys.
All right, that concludes this episode of SipTalk. Thank you for joining. Again, let me know if we missed any dangerous toys, and look forward to seeing you guys next time. Adios.
I like PBR. I just got priced out of it.